So I'm having a chat with Matt and Ben of the Sleeping Souls. How are you both?
Very well
Very
indeed.
good.
Thank you. Yes.
How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks so much. So you've released a couple of singles now, which we've been playing. The latest one is Weathering the Storm. Tell us a little bit about the single, first of all.
So it came about Kaha, our vocalist and guitarist, had this acoustic motif that he was running around. And we had a day off. We generally tour quite a lot with Frank Turner as his backing band, and we had a day off in St. Louis in America. And we worked musically, worked the idea up and came up with the chorus riff. And then he took it away and wrote some lyrics about basically seeing out the apocalypse on a little island called Instrahole, which is just north of Malin Head, where he lives, which is the most northerly point of Ireland. And
Yeah.
that was that came out. It was quite painless, that one. That one was that came together pretty quickly, and just kind of clicked fairly early on. Yeah, it was good.
Good. And that's coming off your debut record, coming out in just a couple of weeks' time. What can we expect to hear when we get a chance to take a listen?
All the way from rock through to sort of acousticy stuff, I think, really.
Yeah, there's a good spread of influences on the album, and we all have very different influences. So there's the rockier side of things. There's some kind of piano bits that I've had knocking around for years that we've been playing in sound checks with Frank and that kind of thing. There's guitar parts that Ben's had instrumentally on an acoustic for quite a while, and we've worked them up into songs, and we were a bit concerned that they weren't going to gel together and be a cohesive album. But I think as soon as Kaha got his lyrics and his vocal melodies over the top, it all seemed to gel to us really well, and we're very happy with it.
Good. That's great to hear. And you get the chance to play these tracks live with your first ever headline tour in January. I bet you can't wait to be playing these live.
Yeah, not only the first headline tour, but the first time we're ever going to play them.
Yeah. Well, indeed, we tracked quite a lot of this over the COVID break, and it's been done in such a way that we've never actually played these songs live or in a room together ever. So there's lots of revision and work to be done, so we can work them up and do them justice. But yeah, very much looking forward to the tour.
Yeah, and you've obviously been touring for many years alongside Frank Turner. You obviously know how these tours are going to go. Is there anything that you're going to be doing differently, do you think, compared to when you're working alongside Frank to doing it on your own?
I don't think so, Matthew. I mean,
I mean, personally, I'm probably going to drink less. It's when we're on the tour, when we're on the road with Frank, we've done it for such a long time. There's such a lot of muscle memory there when it comes to doing a show that you just sink straight back into it. We generally don't really rehearse with Frank. We just kind of tour. So it's such second nature. Whereas I think, as I mentioned before, we've never actually played these songs live. So I think it's going to take a great deal more concentration, certainly on my part. So I'm probably going to be a little bit kinder to my system on the tour, maybe less beers and whiskey. But yeah, I think this, for the most part, it's these venues, we've played them before, albeit a few years back. But yeah, it's familiar ground to us and some of our favorite venues.
So what made you do this in the first place? Because obviously you've been together for a long time with Frank, but what made you do your own stuff?
Ben.
I think we've wanted to do it for many years, and I think that it was, as much as anything, just having the time to do it. Plus, I think also with Callum joining the band, there just seemed to be just a touch more momentum going on in terms of actually just getting it going. That said, like Matthew said, also the COVID break meant we had time instead of being on tour with Frank constantly. Instead of having snippets of ideas on tour, we actually could sit down and make them into proper songs.
Yeah, for sure. And what's it like writing your own stuff rather than what I would assume you hear what Frank's got made and you bounce off that. What was it like writing for yourselves?
So, so
I
generally,
mean,
with
it's similar. I think you're bouncing off a different person's ideas
Hmm.
rather than Frank's, but I think it's more of a democracy. So
Yeah.
there was everybody's chipping in, and it's felt that everybody's parts or ideas are equally important. Whereas
Yeah.
with Frank, he has the final say. So
yeah, with Frank being at the helm, it's so Frank will come in with an initial song idea, and we kind of create our parts around it, and then he gets to pick and choose and go, right, let's do this section here, let's bring in Ben's guitar part over this one, and we'll drop this keys part, put it over here, which is great, because it's quite a proven method for us, is what we've done for years. Whereas with the Sleeping Soul stuff, you've got 5 people with equal opinion that all have different opinions sometimes, or all agree sometimes. So yeah, it's a different process, but it's kind of the same thing. It's more, like Ben says, it's more, the main differences comes down to it, where you have to negotiate a little bit more. Whereas with Frank, it's easy peasy. He'll just say yes or no.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, once you've got this album out in a couple of weeks' time, you've done your tour. Are you hoping to expand even further on more Sleeping Soul stuff?
definitely.
With certainly musically. I mean, we've already started looking at new songs, new material, and that kind of thing. As far as touring goes, it's very, very difficult to say, because Frank tours such a lot, and he's going to have a new album coming out in, I don't know, I'm not sure, probably end of quarter.
Not sure we're allowed to say.
Well, I think it's probably going to be end of Q1-ish, springtime, who knows. But when we start a Frank campaign, we're on the road for 18 months or something like that, Ben.
Yeah.
So as to when we can play these live again is a mystery. So
buy tickets now.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a blatant plug, but in all seriousness, if you ever want to hear these songs live, then I'd probably buy a ticket, because I don't know when we'd be able to do it again.
And there'll be the songs that we don't play very well or can't play very well that won't come back for a second tour when we have even more material.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think you'll ever support Frank on his tour by doing both your own set and then playing with Frank?
That sounds a bit tiring to me.
Well, it does sound tiring. It'd be particularly tiring for Caher, I guess, because he's also Frank's guitar tech. So we'd have to play our set, clear the stage. He'd have to reset the stage.
He'd have to clear the stage.
Yeah, he'd have to clear the stage. Actually,
and then put it back together again.
But yeah, I'm not sure logistically that would work. Who knows?
You two, it'll work.
All things are possible. It's certainly not. It's not impossible, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you.
Likewise.
Thank you, Jim.